boldly engaging the mindless propaganda of our time, apparently with reason. This is Rage of the Age.
This is Rage of the Age, and we have with us today a financial coach, motivational speaker, and author of Money Matters, Motivation, Methods, and Manners for Increase. I want to introduce to you today Karen Ford. Karen, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Philip. I appreciate it.
So you wrote a book called Money Matters, Motivation, Methods, and Manners for Increase. What was you trying to accomplish with that?
Oh my, well, I want to see people win with money. That's one of the motivational reasons that I wrote that book. But actually, I entitled it Money Matters for two reasons. Number one, money does matter because you have to have it. You have to have money to live. And the second reason that I titled it Money Matters is because that book encases all the matters surrounding money, from budgeting to demolishing debt, building wealth. Is it really that important to think right thoughts and speak right words when it comes to money? So if somebody's looking to get out of debt, that book will definitely help them do that. If they want to learn how to invest, that book will also help them do that. And if people have never been taught how to budget, which I've coached a lot of people, and the common thread is I was never taught how to budget, that book will also help in that area as well.
So you mentioned right thoughts.
Yes.
Can I be totally like thinking so wrong regarding money matters that it negatively impacts me?
Oh, absolutely. Because I'll tell you why, because thoughts become words, words become actions, and actions become habits. So if you're always thinking, I'll never get out of debt, I'll never get out of debt, I'll never get out of debt, then it's going to come out of your mouth, and then everything within your being is going to move you in that direction. So I know it almost sounds like it's bizarre or fantasy, but actually it's really important. And so if you can start shifting your thinking, and we hear lots of motivational speakers talk about that. Tony Robbins, I can go through a list of them, but it's so important to think right and say, you know what, even though I am in debt, I'm going to get out of debt. I can get out of debt. I'm going to get out of debt. And everything within you is going to move you in that direction to make that happen. So yes, to answer your question, thoughts are very important when it comes to money.
Well, I believe so, because we often tend to believe what we keep saying.
That is very true.
Yeah, we confine ourselves. Like if you keep believing I'll never get out of debt, well, guess what? You're not going to try to get out of debt.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I think back to my upbringing through the years when I was younger, and I would hear the attitudes of those I was growing up with, my elders, and all talking about, well, I'm poor, I'll never be rich, and I'll never be like them, and we're kind of stuck where we're at, and it's us versus them mentality, and I had that for a while. I have constantly hearing that, but I've realized over the years that I don't have to be stuck where someone else put me.
That's
as far as the mindset. I mean, maybe I'll be a millionaire, maybe I won't, but you know what? I can do better than what I'm doing.
There you go. Well, hey, and it doesn't hurt to have that vision and that dream and move towards it either. I mean, I can think of when I was younger, I'm one of 7 children. Now, you don't usually see big families like that today, but there was a family of 9 in our house, including my mom and dad. So they both worked. And of course, we all had chores that we had to do, which I think is very important to reinstate today so that kids aren't constantly on their phones or iPads and mom and dad are working 40 hours a week and coming home and doing all the housework and laundry. Where's that mindset come from? But anyway, we weren't allowed to do that. We weren't allowed to have fun and that kind of thing and do what we wanted to do until the chores were done. But they really, they instilled in us a work ethic. If you want something, you have to work for it. And so, we weren't dirt poor. We weren't wealthy either, but we didn't have all the bells and whistles that maybe all of the other school friends that we had got to have. We didn't have, but we learned a valuable lesson. If you want something, you need to work for it. But I saw what others had, and I wasn't envious, or maybe I was as a child, probably. But because I wanted it too. But it caused me to dream. It caused me to envision, hey, you know what? I can get that. I just have to work for it.
Right.
I need to do what I need to do. So, and I think that has carried me through to where I am today, because I used to have to fight that mindset. Well, how come everybody else has this and I don't have the break? But I had to work for it. And
Right.
today I'm much better off today than I was 5 years ago, a year ago, 20 years ago. So,
So wait a minute. If I get your book and read it about money matters,
yeah.
it's not just a matter of me shifting my money around. I have to actually work.
Well, I know a lot of people that have books and they're sitting on the shelf and they're not doing anything with it. But yeah, we still have to do
Yeah.
things. We still need
Right.
to apply what we're learning. But hey, books, I tell you what, books, podcasts like this, anything that you can get your hands on about money, if that's obviously you're listening to this particular
Yes.
podcast right now, so you want to
Yes.
do something financially. But the more that we can equip ourselves and learn, then you're going to be better equipped to do what you're wanting to do, whether it's getting out of debt, whether it's building wealth, whether it's investing in real estate. Listen, 8 years ago, I knew nothing about real estate
Yeah.
investing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I know a lot more about it today than I did then. So,
I've bought and sold houses and stuff, and I still don't know much about real estate. Other than it's a pain. It's an absolute pain.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay. So some of these right thoughts then and practices, eh, particularly regarding debt, because I think that's still, even though we've been smarter than what I grew up in, because I mean, as I was coming up as a kid, we were told you have to go in debt to make a good credit, to build your credit. And they like push debt so bad. And well, we
Sure.
bought into that. We're a
Yep.
little bit wiser on that, but I think managing our debts is still a huge financial burden to so many people. Where do we start there?
Well, first of all, to answer your question about debt, yes, we've been duped in society. I mean, James Cash Penney, J.C. Penney, the one who founded that, J.C.
Yeah.
Penney's, would be rolling around in his grave if that was even possible today.
Yeah.
Because while he was alive, he didn't allow credit in his stores. That's
Right.
why he was called James Cash Penney.
Yeah.
So he would be rolling around right now if he knew what was happening. But
Right.
they have duped us to believe that we have to have credit or we have to have debt to buy things, and we don't
Mm,
have to have debt to buy things.
mm,
How can we buy things? Here's a mindset for you. Cash.
mm, mm.
Anything that you can buy on credit, you can buy with a debit card. Well, I have to have a credit card to get my airline tickets. No, you don't. You can use a debit card, which means you have the money in the bank. So
Mhm.
that's a lie. We don't have to have debt to buy things. That's number one. Number two, if you do have debt and you want to get out of debt, it is totally possible for you to get out of debt. You're probably not going to get out of debt overnight,
Right.
but you'll be able to get out of debt. And what I tell people is do the debt snowball. And it's really easy. You make a list of your debts from smallest to largest, and you
Mhm.
still make your payments on them, all those debts each and every month. But once that smallest debt is gone, let's say it's a credit card of $50
Right.
and the payment's $25 a month. Pay off the credit card. And now that $25 a month that you no longer have to pay on that credit card because it's paid off, now you apply it to the next debt
Mhm.
along with its payment. And you keep doing that, and that's going to build momentum. And you're going to see that those debts are going to be annihilated. They're going to be demolished. And I've had people ask me, Philip, well, don't you want me to start with the debt that has the highest interest rate? No, not necessarily. I want you to start with the smallest debt amount first.
Mhm.
And the reason I want you to do that is because we like things fast, right?
Yeah.
We want things to happen quick. So if you don't see that it's working, chances are you're not going to stick with it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know it was called like a snowball effect or snowball thing,
Yeah.
but I personally did what you're advising years ago. I mean, not like I cracked a major code or anything. I just figured in my head, pay off what I can now,
There you go.
and then just take what I was paying to that and put it towards others.
Yes.
And it was working. And two, like you said, it was really encouraging when you see, it's not that I'm getting rid of this interest and that, it's like that debt is gone.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, a huge weight. And then another one's gone.
Right.
And you're like, wow, that just, it really motivates you to
Yeah, I
get
was
rid of
going to
them
say,
debts.
doesn't it motivate you that
Yeah.
and then you want to stick with it, right? Because you
Right.
see that it's working.
Right.
And that's why we want people to start with the smallest step first. Because we need them to get a quick win under their belt so they'll stick with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, and I believe basically what you're saying about, you don't need debt to get things.
That's right.
But in my mind, I also wonder, okay, can I really put down 200 grand for a house, 50 grand for a car, or what things like this? I mean,
Right.
are there some things you're just going to have to finance, but you just have to use some sense?
Well, depending on what your income is and how
Right.
much money you have saved in the bank, it is possible to pay cash for a house, but I know the
Mhm.
majority of Americans don't have that kind of cash laying around their house or in the bank.
Mhm.
So if you are going to go into debt for a house, then I would recommend rather than a 30-year mortgage, go with a 20-year mortgage.
Mm.
Get a fixed rate instead of an adjustable rate, because an adjustable rate has the potential of going up or down, and you certainly don't want it to go up. So I recommend a fixed rate. Then I also recommend that you pay extra on that payment. Let's say that your house payment, I like round numbers, so let me just throw a number out.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah.
say your house payment is $600 a month. Well, rather than just paying $600 a month, pay $700 a month or whatever you can extra.
Mhm.
And make sure that when you make that payment, let them know whether you're using a check or whether you're doing it online or whether you're calling it in. The $600 is for the regular house payment, but the additional $100 is going to go to principal
Right.
only. And that way you pay off your house even sooner.
Yep. You mentioned 20-year rate versus 30-year rate. And I'm I felt this the tension involved with that decision because you look at the initial payments. Like, okay, if I go round numbers, right? Like you
Right.
were doing. 20-year thing, that's 1,500 a month. But if you go with a 30-year one, it's only 1,000 a month.
Right.
Right. Now the appeal obviously is, well, my house payment's going to be less with this. What's 10 years?
Well, and
Right?
in the long run, you're gonna pay more for that house because a
Uh-huh.
30-year mortgage is going to have a higher interest rate than what a
Yes.
20-year mortgage is going to be. And when
Mhm.
you look at the amortization schedule and compare the 20-year with the 30-year, if you don't make any extra payments, look at the total amount that you're paying for that house at
Yes.
the end of 20 years or the end of 30 years. So in the long run, a 20-year mortgage is going to save you a lot more money.
Mhm.
So, but if you're nervous, then you lean towards the 30-year, then pretend like your payment is the 20-year mortgage payment and make that extra. But I strongly encourage people do the 20-year mortgage rather than a 30-year mortgage. It's going to
Well,
save you thousands of dollars, thousands of dollars.
and if I understand right, will you not build equity in your home quicker?
Oh my, yes. Oh yes, you will build equity in your home much more sooner than you would with a 30-year. Yes.
And of course, you mentioned the fixed and adjustable rates. Well, I'm trying to do the math in my head. There, a decade or two ago, there's like we hit a balloon on them adjustables, and it just ruined a lot of people financially with
Oh,
their
it
home.
sure did.
Because when it's good, it looks really sweet and attractive.
Yes.
But when it shot up, oh my goodness, did it
Yeah.
do a lot of people in?
2007, 2008,
Yes.
that was
Yes,
when
ma'am.
the balloon hit, and
Right.
a lot of people were foreclosed on. So, highly recommend a fixed rate rather than an adjustable.
I guess maybe what I'm trying to pick at here is we are presented deals, if you will, by the money lenders
Right.
to look, and the whole selling point is it only costs this much. And I don't, and I've been guilty of this. It's not like we necessarily go, well, why? What are you trying to get on the back end of it? Because there's
Mhm.
always an angle. It's not because of charity that they do what they do. They want to
Right.
suck every dime out of you they could possibly get,
Well,
right?
they're in it to make money.
That's right.
So they're going to hook you with whatever they can hook you with.
Mhm.
So,
Right. So when we go into these things, we really need to think about things like, is this rate going to jump up on me? Is there going to be a balloon payment at the end? Is there other
right,
conditions where you can call in my loan and take my stuff and I'm unable to do anything about it? There's so many things that we should consider that I think on average, most of us really don't.
right. That's very true. Let me throw something out at you. Uh, and and you can check this yourself. When you close on a house, there are so many papers that you're signing,
Oh, Lord.
and very rarely does
Mm,
anyone sit and read every word on those papers as they're signing. They just want to sign, get the keys, and start moving in that house.
right.
Generally speaking, 99% of mortgages have in that paperwork, there is a place where the bank can call the note at any time.
Hmm.
So the question or the statement that you made, well, I don't know if they're going to be able to foreclose on me or call the note on me at any time. That's already a given.
Hmm.
They can call the note at any time. You can you can start making calls from the phone book or Google and say, if I take a mortgage loan out with you, in your paperwork, does it state that you can call the note at any time? And the answer is going to be yes. But they're not going to advertise that to you.
Right,
They're
right.
going to hand you that pile of paperwork and they're going to tell you where to initial, where to sign. And when you leave that bank, you're going to have a copy of all that paperwork or they're going to email it to you. Chances are you're probably not going to read all that. You're excited about moving in that house and getting situated. But they can call your note. And as far as a fixed rate or an adjustable rate, think about this. Banks want you to take an adjustable rate because
Hmm.
chances are that rate is going to adjust, and more
Hmm.
than likely it's going to adjust up.
That's right.
So you want to be a good, wise shopper and look for a good fixed rate.
And that's even if the initial hook is well, your payment's slightly higher with this fixed rate. It's probably still better to take the fixed rate, isn't it?
Right. It's a crapshoot. You may as
Hmm.
well play Russian roulette or spin the wheel
Rather not.
because obviously if it's an adjustable rate, the bank
Right.
is, banking. The bank is banking on
Yeah.
that rate's going to go up. So I highly recommend the fixed.
All right. Well, other than the snowball approach, which I think is very conceivable for almost anyone with no financial background whatsoever. Hey,
Sure.
list your debts, start a small one, pay that off, take that what you're paying to that down to the next one and work your way down. I think we can achieve that. That's achievable.
Sure.
What are some other things that you recommend that, I'm not a financial guru, but it could really help me in dealing with my debts?
Okay, well, let me give you a couple. One of the first thing I'm gonna mention is a no-brainer.
No brainer.
But
All right.
here's the statement. You can't get out of debt by going into debt. Now, let me
Mm,
explain that to you. I've
yes.
coached lots and lots of people from age 18 all the way up to, I think she was 74 or 76.
Wow.
She was up there, but that's not old. That's not old. Okay. And,
Disclaimer.
that's not old. And if anybody's listening, that is not
Yeah.
old. And the older I get, I find out the older I get that is not old. So uh, you can't get out of debt by going into debt. I actually had someone tell me, "Well, I'm going to take out a loan to get out of debt." And I looked at them and I just stated it again. I said, "You're going to take a loan out
Mhm.
to go out of debt?" And then they caught it. They caught it. And I said, "Look, you cannot get out of debt by going into debt." And then their next statement to me was, "I want to take out a loan, a consolidation loan."
Yeah.
And I said, Well, what's the reason you want to do that? And they said, well, because I have this credit card, I have this credit card, I have this car loan, and I have this furniture loan. And I want to take out a consolidation loan. So I don't have the credit card payments. I don't have the car payment. I don't have the furniture payment. It's all in one payment. And then I explained several things to them. First of all, say consolidation loan. Consolidation loan. It is a con, because a consolidation loan is, it looks good. Your payment, it's only one payment instead of 5 different payments each month, which makes sense. And your interest rate sometimes is a little bit lower, which that sounds good too. But generally speaking, that loan is longer. You end up paying more in the long run than you would if you got rid of all of those debts using the debt snowball, paying off each one at a time. And the second thing is, if you don't change your habits and your behavior,
there you go.
You are going to go right down that road again. I coached a couple one time, and I'll just give you the skinny on it, simply because we don't have a lot of time to talk about it. But I coached them, and we sat down at the table. Long story short, we went through all of their debts. And at this point, I had a list of 44 credit cards. Yeah, you heard me right, 44 credit cards.
Wow.
And then I said, okay, is there anything else? And her face turned beet red, and she said, well, I have some credit cards he doesn't know about. Now, granted, this is a married couple. And I said, oh, okay. So I write those down. And then I said, okay, is there anything else? And his face turned beet red. And he said, well, I have some credit cards that she doesn't know about. So I said, okay, so we wrote those down. Long story short, between the two of them, they had either 84 or 86 credit cards between the two of them, and every one of those credit cards had a balance. Now, here's where the rubber meets the road. I always get a financial history on these people before I coach them.
Yeah.
5 years prior, they had taken out a consolidation loan.
No.
And what happened? They did not change their behavior. They did not change their habits. So now, sitting at the table with them, they're still paying on that consolidation loan. And now they have 86 credit cards.
Yeah, in addition.
So in addition to the consolidation loan.
Yeah.
So it's so very important that you change your behavior, because just getting a consolidation loan, which I do not recommend, if you don't change your behavior and your habits, you're going to go right back down that road again.
You're listening to Rage of the Age. Rage of the Age. Politics, religion, economics, and history with a conservative bend.
First off, I am utterly amazed that lenders thought it was okay to give yet another credit card to someone who has 85 of them.
Well, here, let's think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
Why would the lender give this couple another credit card? Why? Because they are in the business to making money. And that is like that is the big fish, man, right there. Yeah. Oh my God, they already have 85 credit cards. I'm going to send them a credit card offer in the mail, and chances are they are going to take it out and they're going to open up that credit card. That's a moneymaker for these credit card companies. They see that, and it is like a big red sign. Use me, send me a credit card offer. I'll take it out. So no, they study us. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to you and me, because we're thinking, why in the name of God would you give them?
I wouldn't give them a card with my money. I wouldn't do it.
Well, they're in it to make money. So yes, they're going to give them that credit card. So, these people, they study us. Haven't you find it interesting? Mm-hmm. You Google things, and then all of a sudden you start seeing these offers pop up, and you're like, well, how did they know that I was looking for that? Because they're looking at what you're clicking on. Right. It's clickbait. They study us. They know exactly what you're doing. Okay, let's say you go into a department store and you buy some merchandise. You purchase the merchandise with a debit card, but before you swipe your debit card, they say, would you like to save 15% off on these purchases today? Mm-hmm. Just by taking out a credit card? Let's say you decline it, but you use your debit card in that machine. They know your name, they know your address, they know you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
about a week later, what are you going to get in the mail? A credit card offer. So yeah, they know. So it does surprise me knowing as a financial coach, why would you give them a
Right.
credit card offer if they already have 85 credit cards? But also as a financial coach, I know exactly why they offered them that credit card, because they're going to make money off of them.
Well, I guess they see something I don't, because in my head, I'm thinking, how are they going to pay me back when they owe 85 other people?
Oh, trust me,
Yeah.
you're going to get your money. The credit
Yeah.
card
They
company's going to get
must.
their money.
They must have means that I don't have. They have screws and devices to get it out of people that I don't have, I guess, because I don't know.
Okay.
But
I
you
got
mentioned a very important aspect to debt management that I think is lost on a lot of people, and that is habits.
Oh,
What
yeah.
what are the habits that absolutely sink you, and what are the habits that we must have to stay on top?
Okay. Oh, that's a loaded question. I will gladly
Dang.
answer that question. Habit number 1, if you want to get out of debt,
Mhm.
stop using credit cards, because it's going to really slow you down trying to get out of debt when you keep going into debt.
Yeah.
Stop using the credit cards. Make the payments on them. Start using cash. Well, why would I want to use cash, Karen? That's a pain. I have to go to the ATM. I have to take cash out. Why can't I just use my debit card? Here's why. Carnegie Mellon did a study several years ago, probably 15 to 18 years ago, and
Mhm.
they hooked up a person to an MRI machine, and they simulated this person spending cash, right?
Okay. Mhm.
All right. So when they spent cash, it activated the pain centers in the brain. It's supposed to be painful.
That's
But then
right.
they simulated this same person, still hooked
Right.
up to the MRI machine. They
Yeah.
simulated this person spending with a debit card, and it
Ah.
did not activate the pain centers of the brain. So here's the difference. When you go and you spend cash,
Mhm.
you will spend less money when you spend cash than you do using a debit card. When you use a debit card, it's mindless. You swipe it or you put it in with the chip. It's
Mhm.
mindless, and you will actually, studies show you will spend anywhere between 28 to 35% more money on that debit card than you would if you spend cash. Here's an example. You go
Mhm.
into the grocery store, you have a debit card, all right? You're on the first row, you're tossing things in the grocery cart, you're keeping a mental note, okay, I'm up to this amount of money. You go down the second aisle, you start tossing more things in the cart, you have an idea mentally. By the
Right.
time you go down that third aisle, it's out the window. You don't know
Mhm.
how much money you're spending, and
Right.
you don't know what
Right.
that total is going to be until
Mhm.
you get up there and everything is rung up, right?
Right.
Now, let's say you go into that same grocery store, you don't have the debit card, you have cash.
Yeah.
You are keeping a tally in your mind how much. And by the time you get up there to the to the grocery cashier person, all right, you're going to come within just a few dollars of how much you spent. Why? Because all you have is cash in your hand.
Mhm.
You're going to make a mental note. You're going to spend less money spending cash. Here's another great example. I coached a young guy. He was 23, 24 years old. He made a great amount of money in his job. But I
Mhm.
thought, man, where is all this money going? I
I
mean,
know.
you didn't really have that many bills. And I just looked at him and I
Yeah.
said, do you drink coffee? And he said, yeah. And I thought, ooh, okay, here we go.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
said, do you make coffee at home or what? He said, no. I drive through and get my coffee. And I said, how often do you do that? Every day on my way to work, I drive through and get my specialty coffee. How
Right.
many days a week do you work? 5 to 6 days a week. Okay, here's the grand total. He
Yeah.
was spending anywhere between $300 and $350 a month on coffee, and he had no idea. Why? Because
Wow.
it was a swipe of the debit card, and
Mhm.
he did not realize it. And then he had an aha moment.
Yeah.
And I said, "You wanna adjust that?" And he said, "Yeah, I think I do." I said,
Yeah.
"What are you willing to do?" He said, "I will start making coffee at home, and I will get my specialty coffee on Friday, the end of the work week, I'll just do it once a week. He
There you
saved a lot of money doing that by just making that small adjustment. So here's a question. Start spending cash. Don't use the credit cards and going into debt if you're trying to get out of debt. And thirdly, where are you spending money that maybe it's mindless? Do you stop at a convenience store because you forgot to pick up a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread, or you stop at the convenience store because it's a hot day and you need a treat? You go in there to get a bottle of pop and a candy bar or whatever it is. How often do you do that? Yeah, it's $3 here, it's $5 there. But how often do you do that? Because it's usually the little foxes that spoil the vine, right?
Absolutely, yeah. When you were talking about the mind response to when you're actually paying cash, you feel it in the pain center.
Yes,
I can imagine. I mean, you didn't state this, but this would be my conclusion. When they were using the card, I bet it stimulated the area where there's like maybe a feeling of joy or achievement by using the card.
Right.
Even though there's still a cost involved, it's almost like we've tricked our brain into not admitting there's a cost to it.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So habits are important. Now you also have in your book though, you talked about the debt management, the habits which need to be addressed.
Yes.
How about building wealth now?
Woo,
obviously you have to have good habits to not be ruined by your debt before you can even dream of building wealth. But let's say we get there.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
And we have the basic foundations now.
Yes.
How do I begin to start building wealth?
Okay, well, step number one is there's a variety of ways of building wealth. First of all, think about retirement. Well, I'm only 20 years old. Now's the time to start thinking about it. Don't wait until you're 50. Although if you're 50 and you haven't thought about it, it's never too late. Start now, whatever age you are. If you have not done anything with preparing for retirement, start now, no matter how old you are. A lot of times your workplace will offer a match into a 401k or Roth or what have you. And so that's free money. If they may say, we'll match you up to 4% or 5%. Well, at least do that. They'll take it out of your paycheck. You're not going to miss it because it's not going to be that much, but then they're going to match you that 4% or 5%. Ultimately, the goal is to get up to 15%. You don't have to do that overnight. Try 1 month, 4%, another month, go up to 5%, another month, go up to 6%. Do it in little increments so you don't really feel the shock of it at 15% right away. If you do not have a plan available to you at your workplace, there's tons of retirement places out there that will help you plan your money. There's Aflac, there's Edward Jones, there's Fidelity, there's tons of them. Sit down, make an appointment, sit down with the people. Maybe you can do $100 a week. Maybe you can do, however much you can be comfortable with. And they can they can set it up automatically to take it from your checking account, what have you. Start now, even if it's a small amount of money, but then try to reach the goal of putting more money into it. You can do a 401k. You can do a Roth IRA. You can do a traditional IRA. Start doing retirement. Secondly, another way to build wealth is stocks, the stock market. Now I hear people say, well, I don't know about the stock. Hey, I do well in it. Okay. Everything I'm telling you right now, I do. But you have to do your due diligence. You can't just, you can't do a crapshoot, spin the wheel on the roulette wheel. You can't do that. You still have to look. How long has this company been in business? What's their track record? How have they done the last 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, 6 months? Okay. Get some standard companies. Some people say penny stocks. Listen, that's a crapshoot. There are thousands of companies out there that you can buy penny stocks. It's a crapshoot. Okay. There's, start somewhere, do your due diligence. And, I don't know, am I allowed to throw some company names out on this podcast?
Hey, we're just discussing opinion. Go ahead.
Okay, here's my opinion. This is what I have stock in personally.
Right.
You do your due diligence. I have stocks in Microsoft, Apple, Dollar General, Verizon, Zion Oil and Gas, Diversified Gas and Oil, DGOCF. There's all different kinds of companies. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because if you drop the basket, all the eggs are going to break. Diversify, and that just means spread it around. Put some in tech, put some in food, commodities, gas, oil, spread it around in various companies. Okay. So that's number 2. Number 3, which is my personal favorite, is real estate. And if you don't know anything about real estate, it's never too late to learn. You can start small with a small amount of money. You can buy real estate through foreclosures, through auctions, through state auditor auctions, which is really inexpensive. You can buy and sell. Maybe once you get the deed, you just clean it out, put a little bit of paint on it, and sell it to somebody else where they're going to come in and flip it, and you make a profit. Or maybe you want to flip it yourself. But again, do your due diligence. I do have another book entitled You Can Do It, and that is 101 for anyone that wants to invest in real estate. So
let's say I feel like I'm just getting by.
Okay.
I've just managed my debts, but like I don't have my dream job. I don't feel like I have all this extra cash to, and I'm going to use this wording because this is what would probably come up in many people's heads. I don't want to risk my money somewhere else when I feel I need it now. Are there certain thresholds to maybe gauge by what I can start investing elsewhere versus what I need to have at my home now?
Okay, well, first of all, and that's a great question. First of all, you need to have an emergency fund, because emergencies are going to happen. So I ask people at least have $1,000 in a completely separate account marked emergency fund. Okay. And you can get that rather quickly if you don't have it right now. Go through your house, go through your basement, your garage, your attic. If you haven't used something in at least a year, sell it, get rid of it, go on eBay, go on Facebook yard sale sites. Those are free to post things, sell them, and get the $1,000 quickly. Put that in a separate account where you're not going to touch it. Then if you have money in another account, let's say you have $1,000 in another account, you don't really want to let go of that money, but you want to invest. Let's say you have to know your own comfort level. Maybe you don't want to take out $900 out of that account and start investing. I certainly understand that. You can start with a couple $100. Every state has what's called a state auditor auction. A state auditor office gathers properties where people have not paid their property taxes. Well, the state auditor is not in the real estate business. They want to get those houses or those properties off their books. And every year they will hold an auction where people like you and me can actually bid on these properties, buy them, etc., finally get the deed, and then you can sell them and do with them whatever you want. That's very inexpensive. I actually bought a property when I first started in this. I bought a property sight unseen for $10. Shocking, I know. But I learned the hard way. Always find out where the property is. It ended up being a mobile home that had a big sign and padlock on it that said, "Do not enter. This was a meth house." I did end up selling it, and I did end up making money on it. However, when you find out from the state auditor office where these properties are, go set your eyes on them so you can know, do I really want to bid on this property or not? But that's an easy way of getting into real estate investing inexpensively.
I think you mentioned, I guess this would be a part of a habit of something that's probably very important. When you earmark money for something, don't touch it.
That is exactly right.
Like you said, emergency fund. Right now, of course, in people's heads, that's a subjective term.
It has to be.
I have a hot day tonight. This is an emergency, so I'm going to dip into my fund a little bit. Right?
Game, bowling, whatever. Vacation.
I got a boat I just found for $900. It's an emergency, right? but when you set aside, you have to truly let it be there for that
That's
purpose.
exactly right.
If we keep robbing Peter to pay Paul, as the expression goes,
That's right.
then the whole purpose is gone.
Right. That's right.
Right.
It has to be a true emergency.
Yes. All this is awesome advice, Karen. It's how can I say? It's some simple advice that I think we need to relearn. Because man, I read some financial stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? But these are just simple things I think just your average person can grab, and it can
Right.
immediately really impact and fix their life.
Absolutely.
Where can I find your book? And if like I was like, I like what she's saying because you're a motivational speaker. You go around and speak at places. If someone
Yes.
wanted to find you, how can they do that?
Oh, absolutely. You can go to my personal website, which is karenford.org. And my books are also on Amazon as well.
Okay. Well, Karen, it's been awesome having you with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're listening to Rage of the Age. Rage of the Age. Politics, religion, economics, and history with a conservative bend.
Welcome to the essay segment. As always, I enjoy the interviews I have with the guests that we have for Rage of the Age. And that's no different with this interview with Karen Ford. I love talking about basic financial things, especially from the perspective of the average person. Most Americans, I think a lot of us can agree, do not have sound financial training. Many of us don't see it in the home. In fact, if we've learned anything in the home, it is probably bad habits that we should not have learned. And to the shame of the system and those who run it, the educational system is not concerned if you learn anything about money whatsoever. It's almost like there's this conspiracy for us to be stupid in order that we can be exploited when it comes to Money Matters, which ironic is the name of her book, Money Matters, because it does matter. If it matters so much as far as being sensible with it, why are we not taught ways in which to be sensible with it? There could be, we can follow that trail to numerous locations, chase that rabbit, if you will. Maybe we'll catch it, maybe we won't. I'm sure there's a lot of theories of why we wouldn't want people to know basic financial sense, if you will. But first, I just want to focus on something that has bothered me for a few years, and that is it has to do with the role of government in finance. The government is a reflection of its people, especially in a democracy. I mean, in the end, we can blame the government for this, that, and the other. And when it's out of control, then yes, you absolutely have to call it what it is, right? But at some point, we, the people, said, hey, go ahead and run amok with this. We're cool with it, right? When we look at the incessant spending of the federal government and we look at just the constant debt that's building up, the reason that is the way it is because it reflects our values. Let's have it now, pay for it later. Let's grab it now, worry about it on the back end. But of course, this tension builds, this debt builds, the financial sense is thrown out the window, right? Talking with Karen, she talked about the scanning they did of spending with out of cash versus spending with the card, and the different effect it had on our mindset. And in a way, we have gotten to that point when it comes to public spending. We have made it to where it is possible in many ways that the public spending that we do, we don't feel the pain of it initially. And in a way, it also gives us that euphoric feeling of accomplishment, achievement, The maybe a good feeling in the brain somewhere that something great was done, or we purchase something without feeling the pain of it right away, and it's almost duped us into this mentality of spend, 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 spend. Hey, don't worry about where the money's coming from; it'll be there somewhere, and that seems to be a great attitude. And I think part of it is because somehow we have deceived ourselves into thinking there's no pain. There's no cost. There's going to be no consequence. Somehow we're going to avoid it. In fact, MMT, modern monetary theory, it kind of it pushes this. It has this enjoy now, avoid the pain till later approach to things. It actually, that whole essence of that theory is we can rig the system to avoid the pain. And that's of course that's the appeal to people at large, but the appeal to bigger entities, especially like government, is they can control things, and the government loves when they can just control things without having to deal with popular opinion. Yep, even our own government, that's what they love. But when you remove this idea of pain from the spending, as we talked about in the interview, that's it doesn't make the effects of the pain disappear. It's just delayed. It's there's this illusion that it's not there. It's like Novocaine when you get your teeth done. When it wears off, you feel the pain. Well, at some point, the butcher's bill is going to have to be paid. And if you're going to listen to the music, at some point, you're going to have to pay the piper. There's no avoiding it. That's basic economics. I don't care what theory you dive into or love or want to love or hate. In the end, there's price, and the price has to be paid. This whole thing of avoiding it is ridiculous. Kicking it down the road, hoping someone else will pick it up is negligence, absolute negligence. And it all comes really down to this. The politician is thinking, I want to be popular, and I don't want to be known for the one who causes the pain, so I'll just spin away, and then I will kick the problem down the road and hope that someone else has to deal with it and not me, right? And then they'll probably even jump in and say, yeah, I can't believe they're causing this pain. It's like, no. You caused it. It's just not caught up to us, right? It's very shifty, diabolical, dishonest. But what do you expect from our politicians? They look just like us, right? I mean, we vote them in there. We're happy with what they do. We hope to get something and put the pain on somebody else. In essence, that's basically the summary of our politics in our day. We all want to get something and put the pain on somebody else. But we have to understand and come to terms with this, that look, the spending has pain regardless. There's no money that's free, and everything will cost something. I mean, even now, we're starting to see the effects of inflation that even MMT people could not stop. Something that I and others have said, hey, this is a natural economic result when you flood the market with all this money like that. Sure enough, here we see it. Rising in prices of all kinds of things. A lot of things have gone up in price really quickly. That's called inflation. There are things that cause inflation, right? Throwing money about lowers its value. And again, these are simple things that should be taught in school, but I think they're not on purpose so that big entities like corporations and big government can pull the fast one on you. And they do it all the time. But then I wonder about the role of government when it comes to things like, say, finance, right? Some of the issues we have in our country is there's different views on what government should do and should not do, of course. But as far as myself, I am definitely against a strong government that is constantly running the economy. And I don't like excessive regulations. And in fact, our regulations are so excessive that oftentimes they contradict each other. And they won't iron it out. They just tend to leave it the way it is. Too much work to make it coherent, right? So then there's this game of, well, which regulation do we have to obey today, right? I mean, that's that creates a lot of inefficiency. And depending on the mindset of the government at the time, they can use it as leverage against people. And honestly, government likes that. But who put them there? Who lets them stay in power? We, the people. In the end, we deserve the government we get. I mean, we can complain all we want about they're doing this and this is happening. I can't believe they're doing this. In the end, we got what we asked for. And we have to own up to that. We have to discipline ourselves and expect the same discipline in our leaders, or that's what we're going to get. Pure and simple. That's what we're going to get. But looking at the role of government, I was thinking about loans, especially hearing this interview. Loans. I'm angry. Actually, I'm going to try to check myself so I don't get into a frothy sermon type response, if you will. But I am angry that lending companies are given such a free hand to prey on weak people, to keep them in debt, to suck out all the money they can get, and then they get away with it. And we call that fine. We call that, great business practices. It's absolutely horrendous. As far as I'm concerned, the Bible is very specific on the role of government. It's to reward those who do good and punish those who do evil. In the end, that's the role of government, right? It's meant to be a moderator between people. People should live freely, but you don't allow the predators to prey on the weak. But but it's almost like the predators over time, through corrupt government, are given special protection so that they can prey upon the weak. And that's, I guess, where my beef is with this. Think about, for example, interest. Now, many of you have probably a basic understanding of interest, and it's called like standard interest, a basic type of interest, a simple interest, where say I loan you $100, I charge 10% interest. So at the end, you would owe me $110, right? Because 10% of that 100 is 10. So, the fee for you borrowing from me would be, $10 on the 100, right? That's simple for us to understand. Okay, so I know this much is what I'll give you back in exchange for, the loaning of the money. We get that. But now you have something called, the APR, the compounded interest, where even daily your stuff can roll over. And it's huge. And this is the deceit, again, of the numbers game. Oh, it's only 3.5% interest. Okay. And that sounds small, but when it's compounded and it keeps growing, the next thing, a lot of times the loans that we take, listen to what I'm saying, the loans that we take, they have this small sounding number for a percentage. But a lot of times you can pay in reference to the actual percentage of what you borrowed, you'll pay 100% or more of what you borrowed. Now that's excessive. That's excessive. That surpasses predatory practices through the ages. This is a huge, unprecedented move that just milks everything out of somebody. And of course, as a pastor, I look at this and I'm infuriated by it, because I know you're targeting people who are weak. They've been addicted to money. They've been addicted to getting things and trying to avoid the pain, and you've been fueling it. And the reason you do it is to suck every dime out of it, and you leave them with the crushing debt. Like the people Karen was talking about with 86 credit cards. 86. Now, surely you have to say, maybe you shouldn't give them another card, right? I mean, that's like somebody using, crack, and then it's like, here, have another hit. The only reason you do, if you have any compassion for them, it's like, man, they need to get off that stuff. But no, if I want them enslaved to it, I'll just give them more, and extract every dime I can get out of them. Basically, a lot of these lending operations are nothing more than drug dealers. They addict them to this thing of debt, and they extract every possible dime from them, but it's legal. Legal. The prophets of old in Israel oftentimes cried out against these type of practices, because even in their day, you had these rich money lenders who would purposely find ways to trap people into debt, take everything they have, and then end up selling them into slavery to get extra, selling people for the price of a pair of sandals. Now, here we are today, addicting people to being in debt, purposely preying upon them, purposely enslaving them in order for massive amounts of wealth to be made. And we think God's okay with that? I don't think God's okay with that. And it's one of those things that, we have to come to terms and wrestle with at times, because, as if you've listened to this show, you know that I am a man that believes in a capitalistic economy, a free economy. I believe that, people should be allowed to interact economically as they choose. That sometimes there'll be success, sometimes there'll be failure. But we should have the freedom to try. But at the same time, I am not a naked capitalist. I don't like monopolies. I don't like when big entities can crush entire societies and extract from them, and they're just given legal protection to do it. Because the role of government is to reward those who do good and to punish those who do evil. Now, you cannot tell me that it's a good thing for a company to give someone their 86th credit card in order so that they can extract more from them, knowing that they're going to be even further stuck in a mountain of debt that they helped encourage, and that they are most likely, without intervention, not going to escape from. Now, how is that good? How is that not even viewed as evil? It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The role of government is to provide justice. In fact, I want to go ahead and quickly look at the opening preamble of the Constitution. Okay, these were some of the driving reasons of why the states wanted to unify into a union of states to make a federal government to do certain things, because this was their goal. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union where there's a cooperation amongst these states better than what they had, right? Establish justice. Unity, next thing mentioned, establish justice. Ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. This was the goal. This was the motivation that made these states, who honestly could have ruled themselves, but they saw that in a unity there was something better to be had. What was those things? In this union, what was to be gained? Establish justice. Justice. Is it justice for these big entities to suck so much money out of people, living fat off the hog, while stomping everyone else on the ground to get it? I don't see that as justice. Ensuring domestic tranquility. We're going to spin ourselves into such debt that when it breaks, we are going to feel it like we've never felt anything before. When we train our people to stay enslaved in debt and to constantly just be having money milked from them, how does that ensure domestic tranquility? To promote the general welfare? That doesn't promote the general welfare. It makes people irresponsible with money, and then it fools us into endorsing government being foolish with our public money. and to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves in this day, for us now, and for our posterity, our descendants. Our descendants are going to be given a big bill to pay that we in our selfishness wanted to spend now. And they're going to be dealing with it with the habits that we taught them, which eventually is going to have a breaking point. That is not securing the blessings of liberty to our posterity. Our government is run amok. I think people on both sides of the coin, all political parties believe something's wrong with government. They have different views of what it is, but there's something wrong. It's not doing what it should. And it's just straight up, people are using it for their own gain and not to do what it's meant to do. I think we all sense this. But until we discipline ourselves in our own homes, put our house in order, how are we going to tell the government to do it? See, when you have an entire nation that's used to just being in ridiculous debt and enjoying it now and kicking the cost down the road and not saving, not working hard, if our attitude is just simply give it to me now, I don't care what it costs, well, you're gladly going to have a government do that for you. Oh man, does that not make their job easy? But if we as citizens are responsible with our own money, we have our own house in order, then we can turn to a government out of control and demand you as well need to put your house, our house, in order.
You've been listening to Rage of the Age. If you loved today's podcast, make sure to leave a review on the media you're listening through. Secure future episodes by heading over to rageoftheage.com and clicking the RSS feed button. Until next time, this has been Rage of the Age.